Hey, good morning, Eastern Oregon, and welcome to this December 16th version of AM Live on EOA, your connection to Eastern Oregon. We're glad that you are here with us this morning. If you want to find our content, you go to EOA.network. You literally type that in the browser bar. You got to wait a little bit because it takes a few seconds for it to forward it to the link tree where you can find the places of our Facebook, YouTube, Roku channel, website, Instagram. All of that stuff is right there. And all of this content ends up there archived in many of those places, except for Instagram. And so be sure and check it out. You can find our content, find stuff that you might have missed in the past. You saw a reel like, oh, that's right. Gary Bell was, LeGrand Police Chief Gary Bell was on the show last week. And so there's just lots of interesting guests. Kelly Ryan, EOU President Dr. Kelly Ryan will be on the show on Thursday. So all of that stuff you can find, and be sure and check it out. Here in a little bit, we are going to have Nick Vora and his guest,
Jim Webster.
Jim Webster, thank you, is going to be with us to talk about water and flooding and all the kind of stuff like that that impacts our life. We're going to look at some footage from Washington. They're having an event, or have been having an event the last several days over there. So, how are you, man?
Good.
Doing all right?
Good, yeah. Yeah, it's second Monday.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like Monday today.
What does it feel like?
It feels like Tuesday. Even though there isn't any Tuesdays.
There's just
the
second,
hypothetical
yeah,
world.
Yeah, I'm going to make a calendar for you. It's like Monday, second Monday,
Yeah,
Wednesday.
third Monday, fourth Monday, Friday.
What do you call Thursday, though?
First Friday.
First Friday, that's right. So, yeah, we definitely...
The work week's only Wednesday.
We definitely, yeah, okay. Yeah, we definitely need to make like a little custom Dodsey calendar.
So, I mean, at least, like Mondays is like my skate day most of the time.
Yeah.
Like I kind of treat it like recovery. You know what I mean?
Right,
like try to figure out.
Like
crazy.
Yeah.
And but not yesterday because I got a lot of pictures that I have to
we were talking about that.
A lot.
Yeah.
It's just, you get, when they pile events all in one time frame, that's what kills me. Like just keeping up, like trying to get these pictures. I mean, I haven't even made a post about the wrestling tournaments yet because I don't have pictures to put up. You know what I mean? There's no point in doing it until I have the pictures ready for it.
Yeah. So, well, and people don't know that the life of a digital photographer these days, we bought a new camera probably less than a year ago now and upgraded our gear, but it'll shoot 40 frames a second. So if you hold the shutter button down, which is totally within your control, very long, you've got 15 pictures to look through.
And wrestling's a sport where you don't need 40 frames a second. I'm just an idiot. And I forgot to switch it over, and then I end up with 35,000 pictures.
Yeah. So like a bat, I mean, like if you have a batter, hitting a ball.
Yes.
You can use 40 frames per second.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
You'll get a little bit of roll, but not bad. I mean, like you'll see the bat kind of bend a little.
Yeah.
It's weird looking, but wrestling, very, very little is there any movement that you can't catch, like 12 frames per second.
Yeah, and I could explain all that to you technically, but it's just pretty amazing these days.
I can't explain it to you.
Yeah.
But I know it, but I can't explain it to you.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, hey, you want to do sports?
Yeah.
All right.
AM Sports Report brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress. Bedroom, dining, and accent furniture. That adds style and staying power. Discover the Flex Steel Statements collection now at Northwest Furniture and Mattress. They want to make you comfortable in your own home. LHS Girls Wrestling had the Buckle Classic this last weekend. They won it. At the same time, the boys had the Milenberg, which they won as well. Great tournaments for the LeGrand kids. And like I was saying before, it's going to be a couple days, and I'll have a post up with all the placers and all the champions and pictures and all that. So be on the lookout for that. The LHS girls basketball team beat Junction City and lost to Staten over the weekend. They are at Mac High tonight at 6 p.m. The boys kind of flip-flopped, losing to Junction City and beating Staten over the weekend. They moved into the 10th place in the OSAA coaches poll. So, I mean, I think that's the first time the boys have been in the top 10 in probably like 3 or 4 years, honestly. They host Mac High tonight up at the gym. JV2 starts at 3:30. JV starts at 5, and varsity starts at 6:30. EOU men's basketball beat Corbin on Friday night in Salem. It was the only CCC games of the week. It was a weird weekend with CCC. They won in overtime to keep their CCC record perfect. They're 3-0. They also swept Player of the Week, so they got both Offensive and Defensive Player of the Week honors this week for the conference. James Bodley was the Offensive Player of the Week. He hit the game winner against Corbin in overtime, and Cole Hammock was named the Defensive Player of the Week. The women had the weekend off, and both teams make the Washington trip this weekend to take on the Evergreen Gooey Ducks and the Northwest. You know what's crazy? Northwest, their mascot is a bird of some sort, and I don't even know what it is. I don't. That's how little. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
right.
That's how much they don't win a lot. You know what I mean? They're not super prevalent in the conference, and I can see the logo in my head, but I can't remember the name of what it is. EOU indoor track and field swept the conference awards this week in the CCC. Nora Roscoe placed second in the 200 meters with a time of 24.94, which is a B standard for the NAIA, and it's the 8th fastest time in the country this year. She also anchored the 4x400 relay, which finished second as well. And Mark Church was the field athlete of the week this week. He placed third in the weight throw at the Spokane Invitational. He recorded a mark of 17.98 meters, which is the B standard and the 4th furthest throw in the country this year at the NAIA level. AM Sports Report brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress. Big Red Rocking Chair on Elm, off Adams and LeGrand.
Good. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at our outside camera.
Imagine that, crummy.
I tell you, yesterday the sun was shining.
The day before yesterday was really nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can live with that. Can you get up on that roof over there? Is that like a...
Yeah, I've been on that roof.
Oh, you
well,
have?
I mean, it's not...
It's not designed for that? It's not like up on top
I take it
of
back.
here?
I have not been on that roof. I've been on the library roof before, but not on that other one. So, but
It's got a rail.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's made for, public standing or not. But
That was Safeway's parking lot when I was a kid.
yeah, when I moved here,
Seen many a
Safeway-
fights in that parking lot.
Fights?
That's where everybody went to fight when we were in school.
Like,
I don't
meet
know
you
why.
at Safeway parking lot.
I mean, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, just wait until we get to Safeway.
Yeah, I don't know why, but
Yeah.
that was the place. You
right.
used to drag the gut from Safeway down to light truck. Well, the
Yeah.
school district building
Yeah.
now. You'd turn around there, drag it back down to
Why
Safeway.
turn around there
and-
because you could get in and out of that parking
Yes,
lot.
yeah, because it's there's two,
Yeah,
and you just drag the gut until there was a party or something went on, and then everybody, you see cars going up the mountain. And
What was but Mac Square? What was there? Was
nothing.
Was it a
I don't
building
even
there,
remember.
or was there some kind of a little park there? I can't remember.
No, there wasn't a park there. I
Yeah.
know that for sure. I don't even remember what was there. That's how.
Yeah,
I mean,
we probably have pictures somewhere.
yeah, I'm sure there is.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, put that graphic up, Benny. So 53 today, 39 tonight, and it looks like it's
Colder
going to
and colder.
stay above freezing. Well, until it gets to the weekend, Friday, Saturday. Anthony Lakes is opening up this weekend.
Oh, are they?
Yeah,
They got enough snow?
I guess so. I don't know. I have a friend who works up there. I saw him last night, and they're opening.
They had their party or their thing this last weekend because I was talking to Dr. Reed and he said that he was going up there on Sunday. Like they have like a
Yeah.
first of the year party or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, yep, the rocks must have enough coverage. So, and a lot of people don't know it, but like that is Anthony Lakes is one of the highest elevation ski areas in Oregon. I mean, the base is. So where the base is a higher elevation than a lot of other places. All right.
Skiing's not my.
It's not your forte?
No.
Have you ever done that?
Yes. It's cold. It's wet. It's snowy. No. Yes, I've done it. I broke my hand skiing when I was 16.
Need a little bubble around you. Yeah. When I was in college, I went skiing with a basketball player, and he was 6'10", and he'd never been skiing in his life.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, but he was just a wild. Oh my gosh, he was a wild dude, and he was fairly athletic, and he just put the skis parallel, headed downhill.
That's pretty much what I did. I mean,
Yeah.
I caught on really fast.
Yeah.
I think I probably skied 3 times that year, and the third time I broke my hand we were on Broadway,
Yeah.
which is that long, slow run.
Mm-hmm.
But my friend was an advanced skier, and he took me off the main track, where you only have one choice. You hit a jump, like there's nowhere else to go. And I go up over this hill and boom, just ran straight into a tree like that.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
gnarly.
You're lucky you
Yeah, it
didn't
hit
hurt
my
more
head.
than just your. Yeah.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, hey, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be back with Nick and Jim. All right, we're back with Nick Vora. How are you, man?
I'm doing well.
Good. And your guest, Jim. Introduce Jim. Yeah.
So I brought as my guest today Jim Webster. He's the director for the Union County Soil and Water Conservation District, or more commonly referred to as the SWCD.
Okay.
And with all the recent flooding in Washington that has been in the news and brought the topic into people's thoughts and to public attention, thought it'd be great to have Jim here on the show with me, and we could talk a little bit about what similar concerns look like in Union County.
Yeah, cool. Well, and Bennett, roll a little bit of that footage from Washington, and Nick, tell us what happened. Give us what happened in Washington.
So, from a weather standpoint, what happened is called an atmospheric river. Basically, a lot of moisture coming in off the ocean and gets, from a climate standpoint, like a fire hose of rain. And in the wintertime, especially where there's already some snow, in addition to having a lot of rain, that rain was falling on snow at high elevations. So essentially doubling or tripling the effect of that rainfall by also rapidly melting snow. And that's something that isn't unique to Washington, that definitely could happen here. Sometimes people refer to them as like a Chinook, where it's warm air coming in over snow on the ground, and that type of weather sets us up for a lot of water.
Yeah, and that is what happened in 2019, Jim. When it was in the spring, and there had been a bunch of snow. I don't know. Remind us of that event, will you?
Yeah, so a lot of those Chinook events actually happen in late winter, so they can happen in February, March, rather than the typical May runoff that you think about. But it's because that warm air and that precipitation coming down as rain falls on snowpack that's already sitting there.
Yeah.
And we actually avoided a little event that we might have had 2 weeks ago here because of that. When all that rain started falling, there wasn't any snowpack at the time. There could have been, and that could have turned into a lot bigger increase in flow than we saw. The Grand Run River did, and even Catherine Creek really jumped up in flow from just the rain, but we didn't have a scary event again like we might have.
Yeah. And, when I was a kid, you learned about weather, and that when moist air comes in and hits the mountains and it goes up, then it tends to dump that rain on the side of the mountain that's hitting. Yeah. And so then that event, when that happens, it just, you get a lot of moisture. So.
Yeah, and it's on top of, all through the fall, you're getting more moisture in the soil, so everything's already saturated, so that falling water just comes right off in the rivers.
Yeah. Well, so Jim, tell me what it is that you do. To kind of give me an idea of what your job is. And is it a full-time, or do you do that full-time?
Yeah. I manage the Soil and Water Conservation District, which is a special district that was set up in the 30s after the Dust Bowl by President Roosevelt at the time to work between the Natural Resource Conservation Service and local farm community, the local agriculture producers, and help them conserve soil and water. And, after the Dust Bowl, that was all created by, large wind event, the lack of water, and a loss of soil. So the purpose of conservation districts is to continue to help ag producers develop solutions to try to keep their soil, which is really the money on the ground, and protect water and water quality for other natural resource reasons, whether it's just having drinking water, having irrigation water, but also for the fish and wildlife that are there.
So tell me, what do you do? Kind of give me an idea of your day-to-day or of your week. How do you make those things? How do you assist in making those things happen?
My background, we have 3 employees at the district. We all have more of a focus actually in hydrology and fish biology, and the reason is because the Grand Run Basin is a real important recovery basin for salmon, for ESA listed Chinook salmon and steelhead. And there's the mitigation funds that are paid out through Bonneville Power Administration, and then even the state through maybe the Oregon Watershed Enhancement Board, that want to try to restore salmon runs in the Grand Run Basin. And the district plays a special role to work directly with the farmers. We can leverage that fish dollars to try to solve farming issues that impact farming and impact agriculture ground. So we play that role where we can work with those private landowners, but also have a connection to that mitigation funding coming into the valley.
Interesting. So, can you give me an area? Give me an example of maybe an area in the Grand Ronde Valley where the stream has been you've been collaborating and working on getting a stream restored or more friendly for fish habitat, and then how the farmers have been able to, how that affects their life, how you've been able to work with them.
Yeah, so one area of
go ahead.
One area of a project that happened a few years ago was what was called the CC44 complex, and it's on Catherine Creek upstream of this city of Union, And it was a partnership between several agencies that included the district, the SWCD, as the Umatilla Tribes Grand Run Habitat Program, and then Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, NRCS, there was, and the Grand Run Model Watershed. And then several landowners in that reach. I think in total there's probably 6 landowners that were directly involved in projects in that area. And historically, parts of Catherine Creek had been straightened and moved to the side of the valley in order to open up more farming ground. And that creates pinch points, like we'd call them, where it holds the water for most years, but in those big flood years, it creates flooding behind the levees that have been put in, and it evacuates that water out of the watershed much faster than naturally would have. So a good healthy watershed would be able to flood into those meadow areas and then slowly drain through the summer months. And if you have it pinched against one side of the valley, it'll flow out very fast, like in May and June, and then you have no water later in the season for vegetation and natural resources that are out there in those meadow areas. So those meadow areas lose their function as being that storage area.
Interesting.
And they also, from a restoration standpoint, my perspective is the emergency manager. And I used to work in Jim's world as for the Natural Resource Conservation Service that he mentioned is what I used to do. And from the standpoint of in emergency services and emergency management, oftentimes it seems counterintuitive to have the water like stay longer or go on a meadow. It's like, wait, that's flooding, but channelizing water and trying to get it out sooner, that increases that velocity of the water and the erosive force. So if you have a lot of water and you try and get it all out at once in one ditch, it's probably not going to stay in the ditch and it's going to erode corners, and then that's when oftentimes those situations where you see houses falling into the river where the river moved 300 feet in one afternoon just because it has so much force and power when it finally does hit corners, or if there's some tree that falls in the river that causes it to then start eroding, because water doesn't tend to, and Jim is much more of an expert on this than I am, doesn't like to go in straight lines. And if it hits anything, it will find a reason to curve, and oftentimes when there's levee breaches and things like that, it can cause a lot of problems. So oftentimes there's a lot of values beyond the conservation side with projects where the floodplain is active. Not only does it keep wells from going dry and things like that later in the year, which is a whole another set of problems for us, but also what might become or considered a flood event with proper use of the floodplain might just be some seasonal high water that's not necessarily impacting infrastructure. So
these above ground storage, and that's a term that's used a lot, the bigger conversation is in Grand Ronde Valley, we don't have control of that water. Where Baker Valley, they have Phillips Reservoir above there, and they can release, they have control of how much water comes down into that valley. And that's something that the Grand Ronde Valley has never had. So then when you have a big flood event, it's, it goes where you don't want it to go, and it might not stay as long as you want it to stay. I mean, is that a good assessment?
It is. There are definitely pluses and minuses with a system that doesn't have any surface water storage.
Yeah.
And other systems that do. And so I've worked closely in other basins, like the Umatilla Basin, where Mackay Reservoir is located. And Mackay has had a couple of bad floods below it in history also, so it's not a fix-all automatically. And the problem that you run into is space and places, the proper places to put a surface reservoir, because you create passage issues for anadromous fish. you create water quality problems because you got this big pool of water that's heating up in the summer, and that can reduce the amount of oxygen that's available in that water for all aquatic biota, and it creates other chemistry problems too. One of the ways to look at some of the restoration work we try to do in restoring these meadow areas is they're basically underground reservoirs. So those areas would be like, you can imagine a stream coming out of the mountains into a lower gradient flat that opens up and you've got a nice meadow. If that water can spread, in the soil across the top and sink into the soil, stores in that for a certain amount of time and then releases slowly back in the stream, it's just like a reservoir, except it's underground. It's more natural processes going on, so it stays cool. It actually can cool the water that way. There's trade-offs in both of those, and then it's with the ESA laws, it'd be very difficult to get a reservoir that blocks any anadromous fishways. So you're looking at trying to build these things off channel, put in systems that fill them, and then release that water for use later. And then whose land are you going to put that on?
Right.
What kind of land is that going to be?
Right.
What's ESA? Just for the people
Endangered Species Act. So when you talk about a threatened or endangered fish species, there's certain laws that come into play.
watching. Yeah, for sure.
So, a lot of our perspective has been from the standpoint of a farmer wanting productive ground, and I mean, when you you look back at Grand Ronde Valley and when the Oregon Trail came through here, a lot of the valley was just swamp. It was like what you were saying, and it wasn't productive farm ground, and so it took some effort to get that drainage, to get that land to drain off, and so on and so forth. And consequently, that's some of the same ground that gets flooded when we have a flood event.
Right.
Because the elevation hasn't really changed. It's just the water management has changed. So I guess talk to me a little bit about, and we're going to get to the emergency part of this because that's but talk to me a little bit about our farmers. What is the attitude of a farmer? We've learned along the way that, in the past, the evaluation is how do we make this productive farm ground? And now we have a different perspective. We have a little bit broader view and how that impacts wildlife and so on and so forth. So, how do you get farmers to engage with you? And okay, are you willing to give up part of this? You understand the conversation?
Yeah. So part of what I try to, the position I try to work from is we definitely want agriculture to be successful, and I don't want to, impose restrictions or anything that takes away more land than necessary to try to create a good condition. So, if you have a piece of property, say, that has a levee right on the river, and you've maximized maybe the crop area outside of that, but then it floods every other year, it's kind of undermining to the farming operation, and it's undermining to the stream channel. So if there was a balance that we can try to meet in the middle, is what we're aiming for. We're working on an effort right now using a pretty intense hydraulic model in the valley to try to look at key places where we could move levees or move what I call pinch points, like those areas where bridges are too narrow and they're creating backwater, and try to identify those areas along the river that we could improve the flooding and reduce the damage. That's really what it is, reducing any kind of damage.
Right, and we had a picture. One of those is Stryker Lane. That Stryker Lane bridge is, a notorious pinch point. It's in it, and so, but
we'll see though in our hydraulic model. So it's coming out a little bit, maybe a little bit unexpected from what some of the people in the valley have thought of it in the past. But there's several impingements along there that of all those bridges, a series of bridges, that there's McKinnon Lane, Hull Lane, Stryker, and Reinhardt, the lowest one. So you end up having to get, you've got this water spread out, as those pictures I think you showed maybe, or we'll show. That water spread out into these fields and then has to come down, and it either is going to be high enough to run over that road, or it's got to pinch through a bridge, and that just stalls that in those fields.
Right. Here's that Stryker lane.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So that's high enough that that all water has come out of the river upstream, or is stacking on top of groundwater that's already wet. The other interesting thing in the valley, though, that creates some of this is Reinhardt Gap itself. So we've got a geologic situation where it's a bowl, and once that bowl fills in the fall and winter, and you got spring runoff coming off in there, there's nowhere to go. It's got to squeeze through the very end of the valley.
Yeah.
And that's just a natural setting of the valley, and why the valley was wet.
Right. So when you're on your way to Elgin, and it gets narrow there, and the road goes up, and all that water's got to go
through that gap.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
No, it's interesting. And again, these are things that occurred to me that took me a while. The reason that there's a pinch point at these bridges is because the actual cost of the bridge is, you're if you create a bridge that is super long and wide and would let all of that water flow through, it's expensive.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and an engineering problem too. You come up with that, but I think that's one thing that in my career over the last 30 years, I've definitely seen some improvement in how all the agencies and the engineers are looking at that problem. So 30 years ago, if you were on a road, you would design for a 25-year flood event.
Right.
Now we're designing for a 100-year flood event plus clearance for debris if you're in the right streams. So those are designed better, drives up the cost for sure. Bigger bridge, longer bridge.
Right, but can't you, just a farm boy solution, couldn't you add culverts, let's say like the Stryker lane, okay, and so without changing the actual construction of the bridge, couldn't culverts be added, on the up ramp and on the down ramp? They're only used once every 10 years, but at least there's a pathway for that. Can those kind of solutions be put in?
Yeah, that's a common solution, and on a road that's not even used very, often as such a highway or something like that, like a gravel road. A lot of times they're designed with a low area before you hit the bridge, so that's actually a designed side channel that could circumvent that bridge at those high flows, and you just kind of give up on the road for a week or however long that flow is up. That's a kind of a cheaper fix, but another fix is to add those culverts in that piece of the road. Yeah. So you have these escape channels.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Nick, tell me about. You mentioned a hydro evaluation or a
hydraulic model.
Yeah. So, and LiDAR. I guess I'm wondering what analysis tools, and I know this because the city of LeGrand. They're going through a flood reevaluation thing. They did a LiDAR survey, but it didn't quite fit the bill for the USGA or whoever it was, and so give me a scope, an idea of where does the county, how do we evaluate that? Do we have good evaluation tools? I don't know. Talk to me a little bit.
So there's a couple different sets of tools. There's on the emergency side, what we use to predict where floodwater might go to different levels of events. When we're looking at a forecast, we work with the Weather Service, and now there's maps that anyone in the public can view that on the National Weather Service, they have on their website, they have an interactive flooding map where people can view all the stream gauges. They can view forecasts for the stream gauges, and when flooding is forecasted for a significant portion of the United States, they're now posting some forecast models as to where that flooding might be. So a really valuable tool, and that is substantially based on the LiDAR or digital elevation models of where the water is relative to if it were to go up a couple feet along, taking the gradient into account, how far out is it likely to go? And Jim, am I misspeaking on any of that?
Yeah.
So that's substantially on the emergency side of things. I think there's some more tools that I'm probably not aware of that on the planning side, as far as like county planning departments use for that type of stuff. The FEMA or Federal Emergency Management Agency floodplain maps are what are commonly used by mortgage companies, insurance companies to determine where flood insurance will be required or not. And that can be a really sticky subject. A lot of people don't want to have flood insurance, but I've personally seen instances where people have tried really hard to have a floodplain changed, so it's official designation, so that they don't have to purchase flood insurance, and then a very short period of time thereafter, it floods. And homeowners insurance is a general rule. There may be exceptions to this, but I've never encountered exceptions. Doesn't cover flood damage. And one of the things that oftentimes people don't think of is if, say, there's flooding in a town that causes a sewer backup. So sewer backs up into someone's basement, and they might be a long ways away from the surface water flooding. It's still considered flood damage.
Oh, interesting.
So a sewer backup into their basement, or maybe their septic system fails due to elevated groundwater. If that's due to a flood event, homeowners insurance likely will have no coverage for not the structure or the contents. Or say if a house is near a stream and the house is high and dry, but the stream erodes a tree that falls over and falls on the house. If floodwater caused that tree to fall, the damage from that tree falling will be excluded by the homeowner's policy.
Wow.
So I live in the middle of LeGrand, and I'm personally considering getting flood insurance. Just, as the emergency manager, I probably am far on that side of the spectrum compared to other people. But I think it's something that people should really seriously consider and talk to their insurance agent about. Like your house might not be in a place where it's particularly prone to a surface water flood event, but what are the other things that could damage? Is it at risk of a sewer system failure or backup, or just different things that might be specifically excluded on their policy that they might want to consider getting additional coverage for?
Interesting. So tell me, Nick, how do you, in a flood event, or a potential event, you had mentioned beforehand, it's like, sometimes farmers put their haystacks in the wrong place, and had they just put it on the other side of the road. I mean, tell me how you interact.
So on the
this.
preparedness side, there's the long term, the 25, 50, 100-year preparedness, and that's really where Jim's efforts come into play, is trying to work at a watershed level to reduce where we have unwanted water.
Right.
And because we're going to have it, it's just a matter of where it goes, how it goes, and the duration of time. And then my role, in addition to supporting the efforts of people working on the real long-term fixes, is also looking at the short-term. Like, we have a lot of snow on the ground, there's a warming event coming, and we're going to get rain, we're going to have water places. Some things that people could do would be in the fall, making sure that they don't have things in the floodplain, near creeks, near streams, or even if they're in a place where they might just have an irrigation ditch that seasonally gets activated. The head gate might be closed, but if there's water going around, they could see flooding in places like that. So thinking about where stuff is parked, where things are. Also, some things like drainage around structures and how their property is graded. Does their slope, maybe if there's manure piles that have accumulated over time. Has it, over the course of the years, caused the grading of the land around their buildings, barns, to slope towards it rather than away from it? If they're looking at maybe redoing their driveway or something like that, which direction is it sloped? Is it sloped to shed water away from the house or towards the house? And even during just significant rain events, things like making sure gutters are working properly so that water's going away from their foundations. That's a little bit more of a long-term thing for a property with as far as foundation failures. But just water movement, water management away from stuff can really help people out. And if you're buying a property and new to the area, asking neighbors, hey, what normally happens here? Because that's oftentimes where we'll see something is someone might inherit a property that they're not familiar with or
Right.
move to the area, and that little peaceful creek that they hear bubbling in the summer suddenly becomes 100 feet wide in March, and they weren't expecting that. So
Yeah.
neighbors and long-term farmers are just amazing sources of historical information on what to expect.
Yeah. Well, and guessing where water is going to flood, I mean, once you see it, when you have a water event, it's like, where did this come from? And you have, I mean, it's just very hard to be able to approximate. I mean, you're always surprised. I'm sure you experienced that, or over the years, Jim, you have I had no idea that this piece of ground would go underwater,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or that water sit there as long as it does and that doesn't move out.
Yeah.
I think, this flooding that's happening in central Washington, I think really snuck up on a lot of those communities in that way.
Yeah.
It just wasn't expected this time of year, and with the small amount of snowpack they had that added to it. But that's what could definitely happen in the Grand Ronde Valley too.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of, I've seen a lot of social media about Leavenworth and what they're experiencing and stuff, partially because that's a touristy area. This is the highlight of their tourist season, and man, what a huge, I don't know, in all of it, you think about Leavenworth, it's flooding? I didn't even know that was possible. Yeah, So, and back to what you said, Nick, there are several little creeks that run through LeGrand. Most of the time they're covered. I mean, they emerge here and there and so on and so forth, But yeah, every one of those, seems totally peaceful, but in the wrong time, the wrong event, it's going to happen.
It takes an alignment of circumstances for sure. But there's definitely risk of water showing up during those kind of more extreme type of weather events. The reason we call them like 100-year flood isn't that they're going to happen. It's just that within a certain amount of time, it's just that we would expect to get weather and circumstances that would result in that much water on about that level of recurrence. So you could have a 100-year flood twice 5 years apart, or it could be 200 years. So.
Yeah. A couple things I'm thinking. I work with Creating Memories for Disabled Children, which is they are occupying the camp that was the Boy Scout camp up at Wallowa Lake, and so I'm up there quite a bit. And I don't know, when in the late mid-90s or, they had an event where Ice Creek flooded, and you go look at that creek and it's nothing, but it was enough that they had some kind of a flash flood event or whatever, and it wiped out their dining hall. I mean, their dining hall swept into the river. It changed the course of the river right there, So, yeah, it's just, you just don't know the power of the water. So,
yeah, it's, and so another thing on the preparedness side, one thing that we are fortunate for is we do have a lot of resources and agencies that assist us if flooding does occur. Our local public works agencies are great as far as doing what needs to happen within the resources that are available. The Army Corps of Engineers also has regional teams of engineers that can come in and assist during a flood event. We have a stockpile of Army Corps of Engineers sandbags in La Grande. They have them placed strategically around the region. And in addition to county resources, when there is flooding, one thing that's a fairly common practice for Union County to do is set out some sand and then sandbags for members of the public to come and fill and take to help protect things. One thing that I don't think people fully realize is the amount of sandbags that it takes. Oftentimes on large flood events, we talk in the hundreds of thousands or millions of sandbags that get used. And that is also a massive cleanup effort after the fact.
Yeah.
So sandbags are something that can be a tool in the right place, but also it takes a small army. Last spring, I was in Harney County helping them with flooding. We were using Oregon Department of Corrections crews as well as an army of amazing volunteers from across the community that were filling sandbags. And they were able to use them very effectively in some places. So that is a tool that can be used, but it's certainly not the sole solution to all of our flooding problems. They're just one thing that we can use in certain circumstances.
Yeah. So when you fill sandbags, are they filled by hand? I mean, is that
so?
Or do they have machines now?
Usually, the amount that they're needed in,
Right.
Filling by hand is something that can be done. It looks great to have, the line of volunteers. They're filling them with shovels for media, but it's really slow. It's functional, but very slow.
Yeah.
So usually on a large flood event, when we're doing that, we will have sandbag machines where you fill it with a front end loader that's doing round trips from a pile, and it's like an assembly line where you put the bag under it, you push on a foot pedal, it dumps a metered amount of sand into the bag, it goes down the conveyor to the person that ties it and the next person that throws it on the trailer.
Oh, wow.
So that's usually the level of speed and efficiency that's needed to be effective, unless it's something that you can anticipate happening a lot in advance, where you have that time to fill. Another thing, oftentimes with flooding, is the sand is like that. You see a huge dike that's made of sandbags. Imagine the amount of sand if those sandbags weren't there. The amount of sand that would take to build that, you still have that sand. It's just now inside plastic bags.
Right.
And sometimes that can be a problem for agencies or areas where if they're getting flooding in March and their gravel pits are mud pits, trying to sift and sort that and into something that you can put in sandbags. And it's not uncommon for places to have to resort to like literally sweeping streets to find material that they can fill sandbags with, which you would never think of.
Right,
like, how could we run out of sand?
Right.
But there are some areas where that's an issue that happens, is where are we going to get the stuff to put inside the sandbags?
Wow. So your contact phone list, the Rolodex, as people used to say, it must be gigantic. I mean, the number, because you are a master at collaborating with different people, and I mean that's your job. Is to, as the Union County Emergency Manager, is to be able to call the different services that you need. So, is that rewarding for you?
Yes, and it's what allows me to be effective.
Yeah.
Is an army of one that I essentially would not really be able to accomplish anything.
Yeah.
And with me, with the shovel and some sandbags, would certainly not be very effective
Yeah.
with flooding. But being able to have the relationships with people who on the mitigation side that I can talk to and work with to plan ahead to try and reduce impacts of floods when they do happen.
Yeah.
And then the people I can call when flooding is going to happen with the Weather Service to try and predict what things are looking like. They're the outstanding staff at the Weather Service in Pendleton that will call me anytime they're seeing something that's a concern for them. And then like the sandbagging machines that you mentioned, we don't have, as Union County, a sandbagging machine. We've applied for grants for some over the years, but some of our neighbors do have them through the state of Oregon, through some equipment grant programs, have gotten sandbagging machines that we can call upon to come help us. And so we share resources a lot. For example, last year, I was down in Harney County providing them with the management side of response assistance. And some of our SAR volunteers went down to also provide assistance in their emergency operations center. And I know that if we were to experience an event and call on Harney County for any resources, or any of the counties between us and Harney County, I'm sure that before we knew what happened, they would be here saying, where can we help? How can we help? So it's just the relationships between counties, between agencies. We have a great relationship with the Army Corps of Engineers and others to work for a unified effort with a common purpose. When we do have an emergency flood event, it's really rewarding.
Awesome. So Jim, tell me where your office is at, and how does if somebody needed to get a hold of you, how would they reach out to you?
Yeah, we're located in the OSU Extension building in Island City.
Okay.
We're in room number 7 in there, so right when you walk in the middle door there, we're kind of to the right. You can contact us at our phone, which is 541-963-1313.
Okay.
Or you can visit our website and get contact information there, including my email, jwebster@unionswcd.org.
What's the website?
What's that? Website
website?
is unionswcd.org.
Okay. Cool.
.org.
Yeah. So, and do the farmers know you? I don't know. Who would you say is your main client? Who are the people that come in the door and see you often?
Farmers of all size and all types of crops, including ranchers,
right?
Livestock producers, all producers, livestock producers, crop producers, people with small places like 10 acres that are trying to improve, say, a grass hay stand. We have a small range drill that we lease out. You can use to do, say, under 20 acres, just drilling seed into the ground there. We reach out to OSU to get some expertise sometimes in like what kind of ground they have and what kind of seed mix they might want to use. And then we look at solving some of those bigger projects with those fish dollars I talked about. With some of the bigger producers, or looking at river erosion problems that people might have. Last few years, we've been working with quite a few of the irrigators on their diversion dams that create blockages or are not working right. So we've got a couple of large projects right now working on fixing or improving those irrigation dams, and then even trying to upgrade irrigation systems for water conservation.
Something that I learned during the 2019 event is that even if a farmer has a small levee to control flooding, that rodents can burrow through those, and which just pretty well makes them ineffective. It
can create a situation where that erodes into something bigger and can actually breach an entire levee system.
Yeah,
it's like a chain. It's as good as its weakest link. So.
Yeah. So if there's a water pathway that is getting through the levee, then as that water goes through, it erodes and gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah. Levees can really be a significant sticking issue on the flooding side. When they're designed properly and maintained, they can be very effective, and we see them be effective all over the place. But oftentimes, we see if someone purchases a property and it has a levee on it, some things like to think about is there an easement for maintenance, and who's responsible for it? Like, is it just implied that, or is the owner? And because maintaining a levee can be very, very expensive, and if a levee breaches due to the fact that it wasn't maintained, who's liable for that breach? Is it considered an act of God, or is it negligence?
Right.
And in civil lawsuits, things like that come up. And then also if the person who has a levy on their property during a flood event might look to an agency, whether it's the county or the Army Corps of Engineers or whoever is able to help them. From an access standpoint, if one property owner says, please come, do what you can here, and another is stay off my lawn, and from that standpoint, we can only be so effective. And then also, there's issues where if there might be a levee that was built on a property that is not maintained, and maybe it's essential for all functional purposes walked away from, whose responsibility is it then to see that that stays functional? And if it's on private land, from an assessment standpoint, levees can create a lot of problems if they're not maintained. So with appropriate easements and agreements and MOUs on who does what. So, and you see that it doesn't often make the news about the levee drama, but in the commission meetings and boardrooms and the civil court proceedings that occur after floods, levees are often very problematic.
What's involved in maintaining a levee? I don't even know.
Jim would probably be more of an expert in that.
Yeah, so one point I wanted to bring up real quick is there's in other counties you'll see that there's a Corps certified levee, and that means that it qualifies for a program under the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers for maintenance for rebuilding and maintenance funds. There is no certified fully certified levees in the Grand Ronde Valley, so all the levees you see in the valley here generally weren't built by the Corps or their involvement. They were built by private landowners or maybe an agency help in the past, but the Army Corps is not going to come into the Grand Ronde Valley and help rebuild those. The maintenance requirements on those is to try to keep vegetation to a level that doesn't undermine that by root growth, and then maybe dying trees that rot out, create those paths, keeps rodents or muskrats or whatever it is digging through into those levees, and then keeping the face of those levees and the foundation of those levees stable in those higher flows. So you can imagine, as that water comes up on the face of those levees, the shear stress or the erosion at the toe of it just gets higher and higher. Pretty soon, if you take the toe of a levee out, the top's just going to continue to fall in.
Interesting.
So wait, a little bit off subject, but is your area Union County?
Yes.
Who
generally.
named this thing? Why didn't they put county in there? Like, how many times do people think that you're just Union with like Union being right down the road?
Part of we're not exactly the county boundary. The southern, where the Grand Ronde, we cover basically the Grand Ronde watershed, so it includes all of the water that flows into Catherine Creek and the Grand Ronde River, and so the south part of the county actually flows into the Powder River system and into the Snake, and that part in the mid '60s was cut out of the Union SWC and put into the Baker.
I'll bet you get people thinking that you're just, operating in Union all the time.
Probably. Yeah.
Because I look at the logo and it's a picture of the
Union
county outline.
Yeah.
But it doesn't say anything about county in there. So
Yeah.
it's a little.
And if you look at that picture closely, though, on the south side, the county's cut off.
Is it cut?
A little bit. But yeah.
Well, men, thank you so much. And Jim, I've spent a lot of time talking to different people about flood events and stuff, but you and I have never crossed paths. And so thanks so much for being here today. And Nick, it's always a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And it's always a great conversation. So, all righty, you want to get us out of here?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
On this day, December 16th, 1791, New York City traffic regulation creates the first one-way street. 1903, at 10:35 a.m., Orville Wright pilots the first sustained, powered, and controlled flight of a heavier-than-air aircraft at Kill Devil's Hill. Well, why would you fly an airplane on a hill with the name Kill in it, first off. You know what I mean? In North Carolina, the flight lasts 12 seconds and covers 120 feet. 1965, the largest newspaper ever produced, the Sunday New York Times, was 946 pages, and it cost 50 cents. Yeah. A Christmas Carol in 1984, directed by Clive Donner, starring George C. Scott, premieres in the U.S. 1989, on this day, The Simpsons, created by Matt Groening, premieres on Fox TV as a full animated series with the episode Simpsons Roasting on an Open Fire. 2021, the discovery of the first true millipede with 1,000 legs. Like, could you imagine an animal with 1,000 legs? Like, I've never seen one in real life.
Sounds like stuff
but it would
of
be
nightmares,
cool.
yeah.
2022, the Minnesota Vikings recover from a 33-0 deficit, which is the largest comeback in NFL history.
Wow.
Number one movie in America on this day in 2005, King Kong. And the quote of the day comes from Napoleon Hill. Persistence is nothing more than concentrated effort mixed with determination and faith. One more time. Persistence is nothing more than concentrated effort mixed with determination and faith.
All right. Hey, thank you, men, for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you guys for being with us today. Dr. Kelly Ryan from EOU will be with us here on Thursday. See you soon.